We are back live. It's your Bolo Punch Boxing Hour brought to you by George Rogie Insurance. www.bolopunchboxinghour.com. Streaming to you live as always on Ustream.tv. Timmy the producer Patterson, Emil Soda Pavinsky Kekabine, Nestor Garza Romero. I'm your host Chris Guzman. Guess what, kiddies? We've got a special guest coming in about 20 minutes from now via telephone from his home. We've got a cruiserweight contender, BJ Flores, who just scored a TKO victory in the 4th round just this weekend on the Roy Jones undercard.
Yeah, a little bit of an odd decision there how he scored that, but
it was a neck problem with his opponent, but it was a total outclassing from the beginning anyway. That's how it was going to go. I mean, I don't know if he'd have broken the guy's shoulder with punches, but it was definitely headed in that direction. And BJ was going to win anyway.
BJ will explain it to us a little bit better.
Yes, he will. He'll explain it a little better than I just did. I'm sorry I didn't mention it at the beginning of the show that we had the guest. I dropped the ball there. Should have said that right from the beginning. Let's go ahead and get started with all the fights that got us through the week. Saturday night, Las Vegas, Nevada, junior bantamweight action. Nonito Donaire, who is the interim junior bantamweight champion of the region, I guess, like the world, over Rafael Concepcion, 117 to 111, 116 to 112, and 115 to 113, all for Donaire.
You're joking about that interim belt. Why don't you explain that a little bit?
Well, there happens to be 3 different champions at WBA right now. There's a super champion, there's a champion, and then there's an interim champion. Yeah. Because the WBA, I'm sure I could come up with something clever that WBA stands for. I just...
Want a belt association. I don't know. I'll come up with that one.
Okay. Next time you feel like you have something cool to say, just leave the room and say it to one of your dogs.
But nonetheless,
D'Artagnan's the real champion at 115. There's no sort for WBA at least.
Yeah.
No.
Donaire actually beat him at, I believe, 113 or whatever, 112.
Excuse me, Mo. What are you bitching about?
There's 3 champions.
No, the real champion would be your super champion.
Unless
you see what happens when people that know what they're talking about have to defend the idiotic rules of the alphabets. Everyone looks like an idiot. I'd love to get a WBA guy on the phone so he can explain it to us.
Why don't you?
It's very simple.
Why don't you make a super duper champion?
Super duper champion. That's what would help. That's what would really help.
But Donaire went here and.
Well, Concepcion showed up, 3 or 4 pounds heavy. Way past the 115.
I was going to say, what do you weigh at 98 pounds?
He showed up at 119 and a half, which was leaps and bounds above his 115 limit. So there was money lost on the Concepcion side. I mean, yes, I've probably gained 4.5 pounds just from the beer I've had in the last hour. Okay, but when you're that small, yes, 4.5 pounds is a rather big deal.
Yeah, when you go by percentage.
Yeah, it's like me walking around with, no money in my pocket or someone giving me a dollar bill and walking around in my... I get tired if I have that dollar bill. That's why I never carry cash.
Is that what it is?
And I just don't have any. So, anyway, okay. Featherweight, moving on up. On featherweight division, Steve Luvano retains his featherweight championship of the world via disqualification. On the Freddie Roach-trained Bernabe Concepcion. Luvano retains his featherweight championship. Luvano is still, he's 37-1 with 15 knockouts, and Concepcion moving on down to 29-2 with 17 knockouts.
Now, how did he score this DQ?
Oh, I didn't know you were talking to me. I'm sorry. The whole concept of not protecting yourself at all times. He started to step away. I watched this one. He thought that the referee had called break. I think it was Jay Nady was the. He turned away and got clocked and got dropped. Okay, and then Concepcion ended up getting disqualified because he hit after what he thought was a break. No, it really was a break. It's confusing.
You're confusing me more.
Yeah, I'm confused as hell already.
It was a break.
He
hit on the break.
It was the bell. The bell had rung. And then he got his bell rung.
What's this segment brought to you by? What's that over there?
I think the question is what belt did he win from it? Did he win the super belt, the interim belt?
We're going to move on down.
The J.C. Penney belt.
The J.C. Penney belt. Welterweight action, Mark Milligan. TKO victory in the 4th round over Ernesto Zepeda. Milligan moving on up to 16-1 with 12 knockouts. And Zepeda moving on down to 39-13. That's about as much as I'm going to talk about that. Junior welterweight action, Anthony Peterson wins a 10-round decision over Luis Arceo. Peterson 29-0 with 19 knockouts. That is impressive. It's time to step up
Yeah, he should
against
be.
names bigger than Luis Arceo. It's time to start fighting people I've heard of.
With better
Well, he
records as
wants-
well.
he
I mean,
wants
he's
to be
fighting
out.
a guy that's 22-9.
He wants to be about 46-0 before he steps up.
29-0. I mean, that's. I mean, shoot, Oscar De La Hoya and Felix Trinidad were like 24-0 and 26-0 when they fought, and they were both 26 years old when they fought.
They did come up a little bit different than the Peterson brothers. I mean, they were Olympians and stuff like that. These Peterson boys are trying to build it through a little bit differently. Not quite the amateur career that Oscar and Felix had, but nonetheless, at this point, they do need to step up. I've seen them enough times to know that they're good enough to step up.
They are most definitely good enough. They've got the goods for
and
sure.
they definitely should be having televised fights.
And moving on to the $24.95 pay-per-view that there was. Saturday night, Biloxi, Mississippi, light heavyweight. The former greatest fighter of all time, or at least in the last 25 years, Roy Jones Jr., TKO victory in the 10th round over Jeff Left Hook Lacey. The theatrics that led up to this fight were a little on the kooky, crazy, silly side. But when it really comes down to it, this was the Roy Jones show. And I miss that kind of thing. I miss seeing Roy Jones outclass a guy that he's supposed to be having problems with. Because Jeff Lacey, at least at one time, was the real deal. And for Roy to come out
Throw
against
12-punch combinations.
against a real deal type fighter and toy with him the way he did, I think Roy had a better night against Lacey than even Calzaghe did.
Oh yeah, I definitely think he did.
Calzaghe had
I
to
think-
fight and dig his way
I
in.
think part of that is that Calzaghe did wear Lacey out a little bit. Plus Lacey's
Jermaine Taylor wore him out a little bit,
Plus-
although a lot of people think Jeff Lacey beat Jermaine Taylor.
he also had shoulder surgery since the Calzaghe fight, so that was a big deal as well. But Roy Jones, I mean, he's yelling at guys in the crowd. He goes, "Watch this, watch this,"
That's
and
awesome.
then he starts throwing, these, like I wasn't exaggerating. He was throwing 12-punch combinations.
Oh no, I watched it.
Like-
I'm well aware. No, it was not a. You were not a.
Exaggerating. And I know 12-punch combination sounds like you're exaggerating, but that's what he was throwing.
It's like, damn, would you put your arms up or something? You don't have to eat all those. It's like me at the crab leg all you can eat buffet. Cruiserweight action, Danny Green TKO victory in the 5th round over Julio Cesar Dominguez. And cruiserweight action, BJ Flores TKO victory in the 4th round over Epifanio Mendoza.
Yeah,
Pardon
we're
me.
going to be talking to BJ Flores here in a second, but that
About 10, 12 minutes or so. But yeah, this was due to a shoulder injury that BJ Flores was already owning the fight anyway. So it was going to end up happening.
Yeah, and Danny Green, he looked pretty good in his fight, and that's who Roy Jones is looking to fight.
Well, that's the
Actually,
name he threw out there. And you also had Jason Litzow smack around Verquan Kimbrough, who Verquan Kimbrough was supposed to be the guy that was going to win. This is not the way this fight was actually presented.
Yeah, but if you look at their records, Litzow doesn't have too bad of a record. I mean, they're very close in records. And,
yeah, Litzow was supposed to be the challenger, though. And we have to go ahead and take a break. We'll be right back with all the fights that are going to be getting us through the week right here on Bolo Punch.
Rogie Insurance is a 4-generation insurance family serving Indiana families for over 80 years. As a member of both